Hi, everybody. This is Linda Fulkerson, co-owner of Scrivenings Press, and I'm here with award-winning author Laura DeNooyer. And welcome to ScrivTalk, which is where we interview authors and share book news and other things. And first, I just want to welcome Laura to the show and just tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would, please.
Okay, well, I'm very happy to be here. I am the wife of Tim and mother of four adult children. I was a teacher of art and writing for about 30 years. I love encouraging creativity in other people, so being a teacher was a great opportunity to draw out kids' imaginations. I'm the author of three novels, and I love taking road trips. I usually take about one or two per year, and some of them by myself.
Speaking of road trips, you may notice I'm in my camper right now. We are RVers, and so we also love road trips.
I know you're on the road quite a bit, probably way more than I am. So I spread mine out.
Oh, okay. Well, we do love to travel, and it's always good to see new places and meet new people and learn new things. So before we discuss your newest release, which is The Broken Weathervane, let's talk about your award-winning novel, A Hundred Magical Reasons, and what inspired you to write that book. You might just give us a little blurb about it and just tell us a little bit about that book.
Okay. I was inspired after reading a biography about L. Frank Baum, the author of The Wizard of Oz. I just was smitten by the man after I read it, and I just loved his larger than life personality, his love for his wife Maud, and his hands-on approach with his four boys. He had a big respect for women, um, and he had a never-ending imagination. He also had a lot of resiliency. He had to overcome a lot of failure and mistakes and obstacles. So I just really grew to admire him. And I'd always wanted to write a turn of the century novel. And so when I read this biography, I just thought, he has got to be a character somehow. And so the basic premise is it's about a friendship that he has with a young girl over the years. The girl is a fictional character, but as much as possible, I stayed true to the facts of Baum's life. One of the fun facts that also made me for sure decide to write that novel was that he and his family summered at Macatawa Resort near Holland, Michigan for about 12 years in the early 1900s. And it just happens to be the same lake where my family vacations every year. We're at the opposite end of the lake and the opposite end of the century. But it was just kind of a fun fact that made me feel even more strongly about writing him into my story.
Well, that's awesome. And one thing I enjoyed about it is you just feel like you're right there at their dinner table or their porch or whatever the family is doing. I just felt like I was right there with them when I was reading the book, and I enjoyed that part.
Well,
And
that was one of my goals. I just really wanted to make it seem like you were with him and could just enjoy being basking in his personality there on the porch.
right. And that novel, as well as The Broken Weather Vein, is a dual timeline novel. So you want to just give a quick blurb about the more contemporary part of A Hundred Magical Reasons?
So that part is set in 1980. Um, and that's from the point of view of a young college student or just sort of graduated from college named Carrie, and she is going through her own struggles and ends up befriending this old woman in her grandparents' neighborhood who just happens to be the young girl that L. Frank Baum knew growing up. So there's just some interesting connections and dynamics as a result of that, and they find a lot of common ground going through
I
their
I
issues.
just love the way that you wove those two stories together and then had the ending that readers will need to find out by reading it themselves. So I hope that you will pick up a copy if you're watching this of A Hundred Magical Reasons. It's available in paperback, Kindle Unlimited, or the Kindle ebook. And so now we're going to go on and talk about The Broken Weather Vane, which just released this month, September of 2025. And please just tell us the hook for that, or and what deeper questions does it explore? Because I know it touches on some tough subjects, but you did a great job of doing that.
Well, thank you. So, yeah, I guess my one sentence summary of it or hook would be two coworkers seek the same information. One wants to publish it, and the other has good reasons to keep it hidden. And one of the deeper questions that it explores is does silence protect or does it imprison? And you have to weigh the cost benefit of silence. The story jumps into the secrets of the Buckwalter family in the 1950s. And through a diary, Leslie in 2015 is learning why her grandmother kept family secrets for so long, and she has to decide what to do with the information. And one of the hard issues that is dealt with is mental illness in a family and how it impacts everybody.
And it was treated so much differently in the 50s as it is today.
Oh,
So,
yes. Yeah.
anyway, I thought you touched on that subject with grace, and but it was a tough topic. So what inspired that story?
Well, two different things because there are two different timelines. So in the 1950s timeline, that was actually inspired by a family story that my dad told me about his dad and uncle who really tried to love their brother, their younger brother, well. Um, they were all in business together, and but the youngest brother had a lot of difficulties, and so just so everybody knows, this is not a family story. I mean, I'm not. This is completely fictional. I'm not airing out dirty laundry of our family. But my dad's story about our his family was just the germ of an idea, and I always wondered what the problems were. And so my story was just kind of a way to explore that. And in fact, while I've been preparing for the book launch, my dad has been in hospice, ever since April. And I had decided that I was going to dedicate the book to him because he gave me that spark of a story. And so I finally did tell him on launch day um, about dedicating the book to him. And he was very pleased and surprised. And I had to assure him again that it wasn't our family story that I was putting out there. But he also he passed away a week later. So
Oh,
last Thursday actually. And so this has just been a really um kind of bittersweet experience for me going through his hospice experience in the last 5 months while I'm doing all the things to get this going. But he was rooting for me the whole time, and um we had a lot of sweet moments. So, but this in the second inspiration for the 2015 timeline, so I just had this notion of a grumpy professor who had important details about a family that he was writing a biography on, and the details he was saving for the biography, but they're the exact same details that Leslie, his coworker, needs to help unravel some of her family history that she doesn't have a clue about. So, and he doesn't know she's from the Walter family. So they're both kind of holding on to some secrets, and she's wrestling with her grandmother's silence and doesn't want to tell him anything till she knows um, more and has the go ahead from her grandmother. So, anyhow, yeah, just started with a notion of a grumpy professor holding on to information and someone else needing it for a good reason. So,
okay. Well, it just, again, the same as the first book that you wrote with us. It just all melded together and came together at the end, and you did a wonderful job at that. And
thank you.
Laura writes in a more literary style, and I love that kind of that style of writing. For me, it's just kind of soak in the words, and I enjoy that. And so she's again won multiple awards. Um I don't even know if we could try to name them all, but it's been
Okay.
a bunch. So, I want to ask you, how do you approach writing with the dual timelines?
So actually, with the two stories that I've written, very differently each time. The first time, maybe because it was the first time, I wrote out all the different scenes that needed to happen on index cards, and I color coded them according to which timeline they were on, and then I just kind of arranged them and rearranged them. Um, I think a lot of them were even sort of planned out before I had finished the scenes. I don't really remember exactly how much I had written at that point, but mostly I used index cards to organize my thoughts. But this second time, um, I I actually just wrote scenes and I jumped back and forth between the different timelines. And when I got done, did have to do some rearranging. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means. And sometimes I would stay too long in one timeline. But so I did have to juggle it around, but I just didn't use the index cards the second time. And a funny thing is, the other day I was out for coffee with a friend and I was sharing some life anecdotes with her, and then I kept forgetting to say something, and I'd have to jump back and told the whole thing out of chronological order, and she finally said, "Well, no wonder you like dual timelines."
That's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny. Oh, and I've heard that some people have juggled three or more. So
Oh,
yeah, but
yeah.
I think I like the dual timeline. I think that helps us stay connected, especially when at the end when they all weave together and the reader's like, "Oh, I get it now."
Yeah. Yeah, I love reading them.
So are you a research person? I mean, do you ever fall in those research rabbit holes? I know I like research, but some people they just especially contemporary authors. They're like, I write contemporary because I don't want to research. But I know you had to do a ton of research for the one about the Baum family.
Oh, yes. I do like researching if I'm doing it for a purpose, knowing that I want to use it in a story, and then it's very enjoyable for me to research. Um, in this one, well, I had to research three main things for the Broken Weathervane. Well, I had to research weather vanes to start with. Um, but I had to research mental illness treatments in the 1950s and grocery stores and processed food that they sold in the 1950s. And also, I needed to know more about university and academic culture and protocols nowadays. Um, so I had four of my beta readers were actually college professors, which was very helpful as they told me, oh, nope, this would never happen, or this doesn't work, and you got to redo this. So my story went through several drafts based on their input, which was very helpful. If there are any errors, then it's totally my mistake, but they were great. And I did jump into some rabbit holes because when I was looking up different processed food in the 1950s, I just thought that was kind of fun to see. My parents lived in the 50s. I grew up in the 60s. But the 50s is very nostalgic for me. So I just thought that was fun. And I probably researched way more than I needed to. And I also kind of got stuck on the TV shows of the 1950s. I really only needed to name a few. I didn't need to know the history of them other than to make sure they really were on TV during that time. They're during the time of the novel. And so, um, but I got, I just got caught up in that and looked up history of the different actors and the shows. I just thought that was interesting. The Ed Sullivan Show and Danny Thomas and his Make Room for Daddy and Roy Rogers and Jack Benny and Red Skelton. I just thought
You're
that was a lot of
you're
fun.
you're dating us
I
because I recognize all of those
know.
shows. We were extremely young when those were on, everybody.
Oh,
Yeah, very like
babies,
babies,
practically
babies.
babies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were babies. We didn't even know. Yeah.
Yeah, for
But they
sure.
were
And
great. We had great TV back then.
yes, it was fun. And I like watching those old reruns, a lot of them. And I don't know if this is a fascinating fact for anybody else, but it was the fun fact for me that I did include Wizard of Oz peanut butter containers in my 1950s grocery store. Those really existed. And it's kind of my little nod to L. Frank Baum, even though he has nothing to do with this particular book. So,
One of those little Easter eggs they call 'em,
exactly.
hidden.
Yeah.
That's neat. That's neat. So, what emotional journey do you hope your readers go through from the first page to the last in your books?
Well, I do think I do think the best fiction takes readers all over the place with their emotions. So I always I always want to run the gamut of emotions actually. And there are tear-jerking moments, but kind of balanced out with some levity, especially in the 2015 timeline. Um, I I really do want readers to identify with Clara in the 1950s because she's the one whose husband has the mental illness, and um, I really want readers to go on that journey with her and know what that was like and the challenges of that.
She
Just
was a tough lady. She was tough,
hmm
but kind as well. But I mean, just the hardships she had to endure and go through. But
right. Well, and we think we have mental health stigma nowadays still, but it was worse then,
oh
and
yeah,
and nobody would want to talk about it or admit it. So she was struggling with all that too, feeling very isolated. So,
yeah, isolated is a good word because she couldn't really share what, so we don't want to tell them too much, but
no.
it does, but it is part of the story. Um, so if a reader could underline just one passage from the Broken Weather Vein, which one would you choose and why?
So I have to read this because I don't have it memorized, but it's
Okay.
um, love isn't bound up in the things you do, whether or not you can fulfill your purpose. Love is about knowing you, all that you were, are, and will be, and still wanting you. And I choose that one because we live in a day of cancel culture. We live in a day of valuing people for what they do, for how much they can contribute or what they accomplish, and we really value people for their personalities. I think extroverts are more valued than introverts, for example. Um, but we're all broken in some way, and I think most people are afraid to share their brokenness, so for fear of rejection. So that's why I like that quote.
It is a great quote. It is really beautiful. Um, and every book changes its author a little. How did you change during the writing of this book?
So um, I'm wondering if all other novelists would agree with me, but I think writing a novel is kind of like keeping a journal. Um, we write about our life experiences, but they're kind of masked by other characters and slightly different situations. We try to make sense out of the confused and elusive parts of our lives. Um, being inside a protagonist's head really gives me different insights than I would have had by not trying to put myself in their head, and it gives me additional empathy for people who walk in those shoes. So I feel like every time I read a story, I am learning more empathy for people and working to not judge, not let judgment be my first reaction to somebody or to a situation.
That's very important today or every day. And, um, these two books, we did talk about them both being dual timelines. So and they're not a series, but how does this new release, The Broken Weather Vein, connect with 100 Magical Reasons and perhaps future works?
Yeah, so I would say that my stories are, even though they're different, um, They do have some underlying themes, and one of them is needing to be seen, and being loved and accepted the way that we are. We all have that need. Um, in 100 Magical Reasons, I did that through L. Frank Baum in the role of imagination in this child's life. And in The Broken Weathervane, I bring it in through the complication of mental illness. And I think all of my stories are about identity in some way, but just using a different means to get there. And also, my tagline, like on my website, is "Redeeming the Time the Locusts Ate." I from Joel too. So I always strive for there's got to be some kind of redemption of the situation. And I'm not necessarily talking about like blatant Christian somebody coming to God moment necessarily, but just like redeeming the time, redeeming the situation, um, offering hope um, out of the despair.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that in both books. The anyway, let's see. So if a book club were to choose your books, either one of them, and I hope that they would, what discussions would you like them to have after reading it?
Hmm. Well, in the broken weather vein, for sure, I would love it to generate discussion about mental illness. And talking about it, I believe, reduces stigma. I think it allows people to be more transparent about their own situations. And talking about it through a character in a book, I think is a safe way to get to that point. And also, that kind of talk, I think, will lead to empathy, which will lead to more transparency and hopefully less stigma about mental illness. And again, like I said, we're all broken in some way. Um, so I think we just need to, even if even if somebody doesn't have mental illness in their own family, they surely know somebody that struggles with it, and to know how to come alongside those people I think is very important. People need to have people alongside them on a rough journey like that. So
True.
I think discussion could lead to more understanding, more empathy, less stigma.
Okay. Um, and what's next for you? You got anything that you're working on right now, or are you just taking a break? I know you've had a lot going on. You know, you mentioned your dad passing and some other things, so just
Yeah, I'm just laughing because I have so many irons in the fire. I have written things over the years, and they're in varying stages of doneness and various drafts. But so I mean, I even have a biblical fiction that I've written, and I have another contemporary one that's in pretty good shape. So I guess a lot would depend on what my publisher is interested in too.
well, you can you are welcome to submit anything to us, Laura. We love your writing and we love you, and so just let us know when you're ready to send us something. And biblical fiction has done quite well for us lately. We do have some authors that have written that. Anyway, this is about you, but you guys can go to our website and see what different genres we have. But we are very interested in anything that you might wish to send to us.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one more question. The symbol, the broken weather vane. I didn't really talk to you about this ahead of time, but what, why did you choose the weather vane? I came from, my grandparents were dairy farmers in southern Missouri, so Midwestern dairy farm kind of. You're in Midwest area up there as well, so um, I just found that interesting.
That is a great question. And because in the writing process, everything gets kind of jumbled up. I I'm not sure I can tell you off the top of my head when I first got the idea for the weather vane, but somewhere in the process, I used to think that I was an outliner, but that's totally not true anymore. I think a lot of things come to mind as I write. And so at some point, I needed something concrete that was going to be a symbol of something important in this story. And because this family grew up on a farm, even though the brothers are running a grocery store business in the 50s, um, because of the farm, linked to the farm and the family. Um, I don't know. I've always loved roosters and weather vanes myself. So I don't know at what point the light just went on, but I just decided that would be a good symbol.
Well, I knew it was a symbolic of the brokenness,
Hmm.
with the family and the dysfunction and everything. But it just, I thought, oh, I wonder where she had that idea. So it's
Yeah, I'll probably be thinking about this question tonight and think of a better answer, but it'll be too late.
it's okay.
Oh,
We can always have you do a blog post for us and talk about that
okay.
if you want to do. Well, Laura, it's been a joy to visit with you today, and I'm going to sign off now. But thank you all for watching our ScrivTalk YouTube channel, and thank you, Laura, for your time today. And if you all have not read her books, they are "100 Magical Reasons" and "The Broken Weathervane," and they're both just wonderful reads. It's the kind you want to just cozy up with a cup of coffee or tea or hot chocolate and by a fire and just sit with a dog or cat on your lap and just enjoy and soak in the books. So thank
Thank
you.
you, Linda. Thank you for your kind words.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed both books. So, all right. Well, you have a wonderful day, and I'm going to sign off now.
Okay. Thank you.